Hey guys, what's happening? Steve with the CEO Nation, and I'm glad to have everybody for a weekly Monday call. We're live on Facebook, so that's good. Today, I'm excited. We're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to touch on Clubhouse a little bit. I'm trying to see how bad the bags are in my eyes. I was on there till 2 o'clock last night. Literally, if you guys don't know what Clubhouse is, it's crazy. But it was so good. I didn't want to get off, and everybody was in bed in my house, and I was trying to be quiet, but we were like literally helping some people and just having like these massive breakthroughs with them. And it was a pretty small room of like 60 people. If you don't know what it is, this is going to sound completely stupid to you, but or weird. But anyway, yeah. And then I woke up today and literally like flipped it back on at 6:30, like 4.5 hours later. But I was looking at my screen time app, and I'm embarrassed to say how many hours in the last 7 days I put into that app. I was in a room with Grant Cardone this weekend, and he was talking about he's had multiple 14-hour days where he's been on the app for 14 hours. Now there's a lot of going in and out, and you're like your earpiece is in, you're not paying attention. But anyway, we're gonna talk more about that next week. We're learning some things. Bobby on our team, our marketing manager, he and I've been kind of trying to figure out some of the algorithms and some of the best practices and whatever. So it's been really cool, but we've got some invites we can share out with people too. So we're going to get into that, but all right. Great to have you guys. What's up, Facebook? If you're on Facebook and this is streaming live, I'm not watching the comments. So if you want to interact and ask questions, hop into the Zoom. If you're catching this in real time, you can do that. Just scroll down and find one of the posts where we invited you. If you're on our email list, you should have got an email that gave you a reminder about the event with a link. If you're not, comment on the Zoom live in the Facebook group, and we'll get you signed up so you can get an invite every week. We do this every Monday at 3:30 Eastern, and the whole point with the CEO Nation is to help people transition from being a hustling entrepreneur who really owns a job instead of a business into a CEO who owns a business that works for them instead of them working for it. And so that's the whole point of everything we do with the podcast. We have the CEO Nation with these weekly Zooms, with our training products, with our coaching products. All of it is based around helping you along in your journey to becoming someone who actually owns a business and can enjoy time and money freedom from that business. So with that in mind, what we're going to talk about today, I think it's pretty timely. I'm going to give you guys about 20 or 30 minutes of some training and some ideas actually, and some concepts that will help you guys not lose focus early in the year, because I think this is the time. This is the time where all the excitement of like, okay, cool, I'm going to do this in my business, and I got my 2021 plan, and now like 2 weeks has gone in, and if it didn't all take off, or maybe you're scrambling to really get your plan started, and you're feeling like you're going to lose some ground already and lose some focus on what you're trying to do, you can't let that creep in, because it's like a snowball. If you get behind your goals now, in 2 short weeks, we're going to be in February, right? And then here's what's key about that is, depending on what business you're in, the cycle of when customers come in, how long it takes to sell them and close on business and collect revenue. The reality is at this point, so actually, what are we at? It's the '18th. So we're within a few days for most people's businesses, if it's not already long over with. January's business is kind of done. So there's not many businesses that will be able to generate new leads in the last 10, 12 days of the month and pitch those people and create agreements and customer contracts, purchase agreements, whatever your business is, to get a client in the hopper and then fulfill on your product or service. Yeah, obviously, if you're on Amazon and you're drop shipping stuff, like that's still rolling. So that's probably one of the few businesses. Maybe if you own a restaurant or something, which is probably not, probably things are kind of tough right now anyway, but maybe you can run some ads and get people in and still book some revenue. But I'll tell you, January is kind of over for most people in business. Whatever we've already done, what we did in December and prior to that was probably teeing up what's going on in January. So the reality is, as we transition over the next week, we're already should be doing things to set February up, especially a lot of you guys that follow us and that are in the CO Nation own real estate companies like we do. And, at this point, our marketing has already been long spent and being worked on for February. And quite frankly, the way our business works, many of the leads that are going to be coming in now and being worked in February won't turn into deals. They'll be followed up with, and some of those won't turn into deals until March or later. So we're already working on the pipeline, and it's crazy to think, but I'm already watching that we've got to make a key hire in one of our real estate companies like this month in the next 10, 12 days. And I already know that we need another one in about 4 to 5 months in the sales department. So we're less than 90 days away from, running ads and trying to hire again. And we don't even have this hire done. And so the pace of business moves pretty fast. And when you're proactively working it, you realize how easy it is to fall behind the 8 ball. And so if we don't get a hire done this month and it turns into February, we're barely going to have time to ramp this salesperson up and get them rolling before we're going to be looking to bring the next person on, which will create a little bit of a bind for us with how we do our training and onboarding. So I'm going to start there with you guys. And if you guys have questions, just shoot it into the chat or Q&A for me, and I'll answer them as we go. I want this to be interactive as much as possible, but when I get done in the next half hour or less with talking about keeping your momentum from your goal setting going and not losing focus with, at the beginning of the year here, I'll open up for just general Q&A. If I can help with anything, I would love to with your business or personal development. We're definitely here for that. I am excited. I want to tell you guys before we get back into what we were talking about. Many of you guys, if you don't know, we've got this cool KPI team, but website, we just put in 2 new podcast episodes last week, I believe. So if you're checking out our podcast and you haven't been on top of those, go back and check those episodes out because they just released. We've not been doing a good job with posting on social media, but we will be doing that so you guys can get links to the different episodes that are going out. One thing that's cool, back to Clubhouse, is I've booked several people. There's a couple guys that I booked that are absolute killers in the real estate industry that I'm going to have on the podcast here soon. And if you guys have heard of Trainual, I might have mentioned this last week, but one of the founders of Trainual, which is a really cool funded software company, they're marketing on Facebook like crazy, but they help you set up training systems in your business. They have an automated web-based technology where you can just turn the crap you do into processes and systems, which is so important with business. So one of those founders I'm going to have on the podcast, and we're trying to get that booked right now. But I just set up an interview with a guy named Richard Roop, who was one of my first business coaches. Literally, like many of the guys that play at a higher level right now that are my age, that have been in the game for 10 or 15 years, will attribute Richard to helping them. He's just an OG, and he's been completely silent for like 5 years. And so his story is really cool, but he is a genius at marketing, and I'm really excited to bring him on the podcast. So that episode with Richard's coming soon. So if you don't know about our podcast, it's just go Stitcher, iTunes, different whatever format. It's theCEONation.com. Go check that out. But back to the topic. And by the way, I'll try to watch here. If anybody has any questions, just jump in and throw them in. One of the things that I've realized, I want to give you guys 3 things here. One of the things that I've realized really helps is, so these first 2 are going to seem a little contradictory, but trust me, they go together. One thing is, if you had a plan and the year isn't starting off right, in one respect, you got to be pretty rigid to do whatever you can to fight back, to stick to the plan and keep it rolling. That doesn't mean that you're not going to make small adjustments, but in one respect, it's really important right now to bend, but don't break. And so what I mean by that is, if some of you guys have heard this, but Mike Tyson's got a famous saying, but everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And so the world is probably punching a lot of us in the mouth right now, just 2-3 weeks into the year. And it's like, oh man, I'm already realizing, like I said at the beginning, whatever's going on in the next week or two is basically setting me up for the beginning of February. And depending on if I'm already playing catch up and I can't catch back up, I may be looking like I'm going into March behind the 8 ball, and it's compounding. And that's the whole freaking first quarter. I mean, literally, this is how you miss a big goal, right? A big sales goal is to get behind early in the year like this. So just make sure that you're not tricking yourself into, well, maybe we had a bad plan. Maybe we didn't understand. If you spent any amount of time and reasonably set goals that you believed in, really work hard right now to stick to those, and don't let more than a week slip by where you're not monitoring how things are tracking. And so you guys know that I talk about this all the time. KPIs are like the huge piece of the business that I think unlocks businesses for most people. Most people that think they own a business just own a job. And the number one big difference between the people that actually successfully turn into a business and eventually scale a business, learn how to understand the numbers in their business. I don't want to go deep into that one today, although I could, for you guys all know me, for hours and days at a time. But if you haven't seen our training on that, it's free. It's 25 minutes. It's absolutely killer. And even if you're not doing anything in your business, you can watch that and it will help you start tracking numbers. So make sure right now you're getting really on top of, even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, really be on top of the activities that are being completed within your business right now on a weekly basis. I would track them daily. I would fight, scratch, claw, scrape, whatever you got to do to get people to just track daily, even if they're just texting you like, oh, I talked to 10 prospects today, or hey, I sent out 400 email blasts, or I texted 1,000 people, or whatever the case is. Like, just have them pumping that information in so you can be at a very minimum level, at least in lead gen. What marketing is going out? What activities are getting done right now to try to generate some lead gen? Any leads that are coming in, how many came in the sales conversion? There's 3 pieces of a business that we talk about all the time in the CEO Nation. What leads came in and what happened to those? Well, how many of them got pitched? How many of them got offers made, or how many contracts were signed? Like, what sales activity happened? And this is on a daily basis. It's really easy. Like, hey, I talked to 4 good prospects today, and I pitched 2 of them on our product, and I got 1 to sign, or whatever that is. Like, in sales, it's pretty easy. Marketing is the lead gen, is what marketing activity got sent out and how much did it cost. Sales is how many qualified leads came in and what did we do to try to sell them, and how many people signed a contract or agreed to a deal with us. And then fulfillment is how many products did we deliver, how many services do we execute. It's basically how many clients who signed with us who we haven't gotten paid on yet are getting processed to collect that payment. Boom. Right. And so there's at least a couple numbers in each one of those you should be tracking. And I would be doing that daily, and just whoever's in charge of it, might be you, by the way, doing all these things. Don't let a day go by, or very few days go by. I just think I said 6 numbers for 3 different categories, right? It's not that hard. Have a piece of paper there with 6 spots on it and then the day's date, right? And just take 1 new paper for every day and just stack a blank over here, write the 6 numbers, the date, put it over here. At the end of the week, take those, look at them, think about them, see what happened, like them, don't like them. Well, for next week, next to those numbers, start a new stack and write down what you learned from last week, what you think you're going to do different this week, and estimate how much marketing, how many leads, how many sales pitches, how many contracts, how many bookings, how many whatever you do, how many deliveries, how many shipments, whatever it is, estimate what's going to happen next week. And then take action according to those estimations. And then daily write down what happened, right? And then write that down next on the sheet. So the second week we're doing this, we write down what we think is going to happen. And then as the days go by, we write down what really did happen. At the end of that week, this should be the same day and same time of the week, every week, you and whoever the partners and main people in your business are. Now you start looking at that and you're like, well, what do we think was going to happen and what really happened? This is the number one thing that will help you from getting behind right now. Look, you may learn something and you're like, hey, our goals are way off. And so you have to adjust, which is kind of my number 2 point. I'll get to in a second. But you need to bend but don't break right now, and really, really stick to the plan. But don't just hustle. Take the time to track what's happening. Just just 4 to 6 to 8 numbers in your business. Basically, like, what am I doing to find things, potential deals or people or business? What am I doing with those people when I talk to them or pitch them or approach them or email them or whatever I do? And then what am I doing to collect money on the back end? Right. And it's as little as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers that you just write down in that little system I just gave you. It'd be awesome if it was in a Google sheet and it had analytics hooked up and colored graphs and all that kind of stuff, goal versus actual and all that. But you can get to that later. Start tracking those daily. Make sure that whoever is doing that activity, all they have to do at the end of the day is like shoot a text off to somebody and say, hey, this is what I did today. Right? Make sure it's very clear to them what they're expected to do on a day-to-day or weekly basis, and then have them write down what they really did, because that accountability is important, even if it's just you. And so this is the number one thing you can do to not fall behind. So if you guys are taking notes, write that down. Tracking your activity and comparing actual to budgeted on a weekly basis, same day, same time every week, is the number one thing that we do. Now, number two is, while you're doing this, so don't give up on that, because you can't go to number two unless you're doing number one. If you skip to number two, it doesn't work. What I'm teaching you isn't going to work right. So step number two, or thing number two, you can be doing right now, and it's really more so for probably in a few weeks, for the next 4 to 6 weeks after that. But it's to realize, like, if you've miscalculated, you've made a gross overstatement or understatement of what you can do or can't do, be ready to adjust. Because one of the worst things you can do, like I was talking about a little while ago, is let things compound from January into February, and then February into March. And by the end of the first quarter, being way off on your goals, either blowing them out and then starting to have this attitude like, oh, we're killing it, we don't have to try too hard, the rest of the year is gravy, or you're missing, you're way under and the number is trending less, and you start feeling defeated. And then there's nothing to strive for, because you're striving to catch back up, but you're just seeing the gap that get bigger. Well, if there's a systemic issue in your business, like you just can't do what you think, and you're overspending on marketing, it's not converting, right? And you're just not turning into dollars. Like, you've got to start fixing those things. And you mean to go back and change your spend, lower your expectations while you can hire new people, train people, do whatever you got to do, right? But the tracking of what you think you're going to do versus what you do is going to start to identify the issues in your business. And that's where you need to spend your time. So whatever is getting in the way of closing a deal, right? And you start with the highest priority and you work backwards. And so the number two thing that you can do and again, the precursor is you have to be tracking what you're doing and comparing to what you thought was going to happen every week to what's really happening. Number two is be ready to be honest and realign goals as needed, so that you don't have this like, we're blowing it out or we'll never catch up feeling, because neither one of those is going to properly motivate or inspire you to hit goals. The goals need to be stretchingly realistic, like just a little bit out of reach. You have to try pretty hard to get them, but they can't be unrealistic, right? Because you'll get buried and you can't play catch up. So that's number two, is to be ready to reassess. And I would say that monthly is a little too soon to do that, but quarterly, you absolutely should be reconsidering if you need to change your goals and really focusing on quarter to quarter. And you may need to change what your annual goal is. So before I get too much further, I'm going to check and see what we got going on with folks. If I have any questions, I don't see any. Bobby, if you guys didn't notice, my other Steve Richards here, it's Bobby behind the scenes. Hey man, if you can watch Facebook and just chat some questions into me, if anybody's posting on there. All right, how are we doing on time? So cool. Yeah, in about 5-10 minutes here, I'll be done with this portion. I'll open up for Q&A, and maybe we'll finish a little today, unless you have questions. But so here's the third thing that you need to do. Again, today what we're talking about is just keeping the focus, moving forward, and ensuring that we don't get too far behind the 8 ball, right, with our goals. So the number 3 thing is to understand what's going on in your life as a whole. So the other thing that can happen right now is people can get super hyper focused into the business, and they're so focused on the business, they're not really taking care of life, and life can start to get in the way. So for me, things are taking off pretty well to begin the year. But I'll tell you, when I did all of my 2021 planning, I did not know what Clubhouse was until literally just over 2 weeks ago. It has chewed up so much of my time, and I'm actually super happy about it. Quite frankly, I've made relationships that I would normally have to spend 40, 50 grand to be in the room to connect with these guys. And I'm leaping from a connection I have to a connection they have in like real immediate time. And by the way, the power, if you're in there, is DMing somebody, shooting them your cell phone and connecting offline and really getting going. Or if you hear something cool, is checking out the person's website, is like putting it into action. So you're not just hanging out, chilling. When you're in the app, you can click on people's faces and pull things up. So I don't feel bad about the amount of time I put in there. It's actually accelerated my bookings for my podcast. It's accelerated. We've gotten multiple people that we're talking to for coaching clients, and we don't have a ton of slots because I do all the personal coaching myself. So we can't do tons of that. We've learned 2 or 3 things that I don't think I would have known about how to handle the funnels in our other businesses. It's just been really cool, right? But it's eating up a lot of my time. It's affected my time frames, but in a weird way, it's eating up so much time, but it's accelerated some of our goals. I didn't anticipate this, but I'll show you guys here. Let me see if I can find something else. We had a family dog, he was about 14 in May. We thought he was a goner, and he'd lived a great life, and he had a seizure, something weird happened. And we thought we were going to lose him, but we didn't. And actually, so literally from like June, July, August, like all the way up until December, like he basically had borrowed time with him. And so that was really cool. But the vet told us when the weather gets bad, it's just going to be like a off the cliff type deal, right? And that happened. And we lost him a couple weeks ago. And then and this just happened. I don't know if you guys can see this. Literally, I know it's probably not too in focus, but the golden and the black dog, it's 2 more dogs in our household. So the other dog you saw was brown and white. He's not real excited about this, but that's going to be crazy. In fact, taking care of that aging dog, we had to use this harness to take him out. And I was up in the morning, and then my wife was having trouble with having to leave the house and take the kids around. And so as he passed for 2 weeks, I got a bunch of free time back. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but it just happened, right? But then immediately, these dudes, I'm going to be setting my alarm in the middle of the night to get them out. We got to set up separate training, but to schedule my wife to do that with my kids, and I'm going to help coordinate that stuff. My daughter just turned 18, and with COVID, traveling is kind of a weird thing right now. She really wanted to go to New York for design school for visual arts. Thought about Chicago. She doesn't want to travel anywhere now, but we're trying to figure things out with her. So here's my point. I was on last night. This is what I was talking about why Steptoe 2. There was a girl whose daughter, just her stepdaughter, just lost her mom, and they're dealing with some stuff, and it's derailing her business. And she's like, well, as soon as this is over, everything will be fine. And I told her it's not, because puppies are exciting. I didn't lose anyone. We lost our other pet. But maybe one of our parents my wife and I's parents is going to get sick soon. They're old, right? Maybe someone's going to get a bad diagnosis. Maybe, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe one of our team members is going to quit, a key player in one of our businesses. The reality is, like, stuff is constantly going on. And so everybody thinks COVID is some big deal. And it kind of is, but it happened to everybody. So the fact that it happened to everybody kind of evens the playing field out. Some people were more ready for it than others. But I've also gone through being in the business world for 23 years. I also went through the housing bust of 2008, and I was a tech consultant with .coms and government contracts back in 99, 2000 during the .com bust. So I've seen 3 market disruptions now, and they pale in comparison to divorce and bankruptcy and failed relationships and failed partnerships more than anything, quite frankly, and or hiring the wrong people and scaling too fast or scaling incorrectly and losing a business, losing money, relocation, just again, bad health diagnosis or aging parents that you have to take care of. Like, this stuff's always going to be going on with you guys, and it's going to knock you off. And here's the reality is that stuff matters more than work, but but your business begins to matter so much. The reason you need to get so focused and dial in is because you don't have all the time in the world. But I promise you, you have enough time for the things that should be important. You just may not be focusing on them. So you've got to figure out how to carve out the right amount of time to focus on what is important in your business to move the needle and push things forward. And you need to be able to have time and money freedom in your business to handle these things that come up. Because if you don't, you can't even take vacation if you don't, right? You definitely know that you own a job instead of a business. If you go on vacation, you come back and you have less money in the bank and you have more work to do. If you can't come back, and quite frankly, when you get to a certain level, like when Brian and I, one of us leaves, yeah, maybe somebody's like, hey, I wish I need this or I need that. But the reality is, like, we always laugh because things get done. And it's inevitable that like some like good stuff happens when we're gone because we're kind of out of the way a little bit. So I want you guys to realize this is the third thing that will really help you focus on keeping momentum and not losing focus and getting behind the eight ball, is realizing that life is a big balancing act. And you've got to realize on how to prioritize things. And I want you to put family first. Quite frankly, I want you to put your fitness too, your health. And quite frankly, your friends should probably be intermixed in there too, because if you can compartmentalize correctly and prioritize correctly, you have more than enough time to get done what you need to get done with your business. But so many people are working on the wrong problem. They're trying to fix the wrong thing in their business, and they're focused at this big glaring thing over here. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. If you didn't see the episode on how to deal with problems, everybody sees this problem and it just gets magnified in their head, and they think they got to have this huge solution and create all these systems and processes, right? And I was just talking to Brad about this in our wholesaling business. Some of you guys know him, and he's dealing with people that are buyers that are having, running into problems with getting information and inspections and dealing with stuff. And he wanted to create some new systems about how we take videos of houses and how we give information and how we schedule open houses and deal with all that. He's creating all these, and I was kind of falling into it with him, like, hey, this is what we teach our coaching students. You're literally fixing the wrong problem. Go all the way back in the process to where this problem, what caused it or what allowed it. Keep going back until you get to where you realize, okay, now I see what caused it or what allowed it, and fix that. And the reality is he needs to have different buyers and talk to them differently and let them know, hey, sometimes in off-market deals, if they're rented, you can't get access very easily. Sometimes we don't have all the information you need. And when it happens, this is how we deal with it, instead of getting to the end and being like, well, what are we going to do? And closings are getting delayed and things like that. And so let's not build all these crazy systems to get people in and whatever. Let's just get buyers that either don't care and or they understand ahead of time how it's going to go. If they can't get in, they're going to buy off pictures and they're going to send an inspector in, and it's going to be on our time frame, not theirs, or whatever, right? You guys have these things in your business with these problems. Just make sure you're fixing the right thing. And when you do that, a lot of stuff gets eliminated, and now you can spend less time on more important things and get more done in your business. That gives you more time to take care of things in your personal life. And this is why you've got to work on your business, not just in it, so that you can get to that point and you can have this balance. Because the stuff that's going on, right, whether it's really sad or really bad, or whether it's getting some new puppies or whatever, the reality is crap's always happening. And this is the perfect time of year when all of a sudden you had all these exciting goals and plans, and boom, like life punches you in the mouth, right? You had a plan, you got punched in the mouth. What are you going to do? And so you've got to realize that this balance is so important and so fragile, and don't lose track of why you're doing this business. So get focused and get productive and work on the right problems, right? Solve the right things. And when you solve the right things in your business, not only do they solve the thing you're working on, they typically solve or eliminate every other little issue down the pipeline and makes things better. So, all right, that's it for 3 things a day. So let's recap on those. The first one I talked about was sticking to the plan, right? And tracking very carefully. What do I think I'm going to do this week? What did I really do? Track that stuff daily and look at it weekly. Don't miss any time. Don't miss a day and think, I'll just guess. Don't miss a week and think I'll make it up at the end of the week. track daily, look at them weekly, same day and same time every week. Really simple. What 6 or 8 activities did I need to do last week? Did I think I was going to do, and what I really do and why? Tweak, learn, plan next week differently. Do it again, rinse, repeat, right? Secondly, probably not weekly for sure, possibly not monthly, but quarterly. If you need to readjust and you've completely missed your goal and you're blowing it out, or you're just getting piled up on and you're just compounding to the point where you don't think you're ever going to catch up, be willing to readjust the goals so that you can stay motivated, inspired to keep pressing forward to those goals, right? And then thirdly, we just talked about life balance, making sure that you're being productive and you're focusing, making time for the right things in your business, solving the right problems and working on your business, not just in it, so that you can have the right amount of life balance, because you're always going to have excuses from things going on in your life. And you shouldn't feel guilty if you want to take care of your aging parent or get new puppies or have an 18-year-old daughter who's trying to figure out what they're going to do. That's why we're doing this stuff. So it shouldn't feel like, oh, once I get this done, I feel bad that I'm taken away from my business, right? Like, no, I feel good that my business supports me so I can do these things that I need to do. That's what really matters. All right, cool. So I don't see questions flying in from anybody. Maybe I just eloquently put you all to sleep. Or maybe you're just feverishly taking notes, I hope. Let's see. I'm going to make a little time here if we got some Q&A. Let me look. Oh, while we're doing that, I'll give you guys time. If you got questions on anything in the business or personal development, that is cool. Let me go find something for you guys. I'm going to put a couple links in the chat for you. And then on Facebook, I'll post these later. We'll make sure you guys have these in Facebook. I'll post this on the live. I'm going to first get you guys a calendar link if you want to get scheduled. If you need help with any of our companies, the things we do, most specifically in the real estate world, we'll get you scheduled with Brad. But if you want to talk about, do the people on your team, do you have the right butts in the right seats, or do you need to hire people? That would be team architects. If you need to do that, you want to talk about it, you would use this link. And or if you want to talk about coaching or our training products, you can schedule this up through here. I'm pasting that in right now. Bobby, if you can, just grab this out of here and paste it on the live, please. So there's a setting up a strategy call with me. And then I'm going to get you guys one other thing. I still think it's hilarious. Like, kind of what what I preach a lot and get known for with people, and what I help them with is the KPI thing, is understanding how to turn their business into a math equation, so they can that actually helps you a lot focus on the right things. And it baffles me how many people, I took time to create this training. I shot this 25-minute video. I created a worksheet that actually walks you through the process to help you focus on it, and how to split up between the different departments of a business. And then I created an action plan that gives you what you need to basically gives you an action plan to get started, even if you're not doing anything with it. I'm going to post that here as well. And so that's the KPI training. People ask me constantly for that, so I'm going to put it out there too, and we'll post that in the Facebook group. By the way, if you're watching this and you're not in the Facebook group, you definitely want to check that out. It's the CEONation.com, or the CEO Nation. You just search for that. That's the podcast too. But all right, cool. I hope that helps you guys with trying to stay focused and on top of things, because nothing sucks worse than just getting behind the 8 ball at the beginning of the year and feeling like you can't play catch up. And then after that, you're making dumb decisions. It's like one of my favorite analogies when people go to the grocery store when they're hungry and they're on a diet. Like, you're dead. It's over. Diet shot, at least for the day or two, because you're going to be eating a bag of chips in the car on the way home. So don't let that happen. So looks like I got 2 questions here. If anybody wants to throw any in, I got a little bit of time. We're tracking pretty good today. Plus I keep getting all these notifications from Clubhouse. They just keep blowing up on my phone over here. I got FOMO, like I'm missing out. All right, cool. So Trevor asked, what if you didn't have goals? Is it too late to start now? Or what do you think we should do? Okay. It's a good question. All right, dude. So, by the way, if you can tell me, chat in there what you do. Let me know what your business is. So it's definitely never too late to start. I mean, absolutely. You wouldn't say, well, it's the second week of January, I already missed the boat. But what I would do is probably try to do some kind of maybe like a 60-day sprint to get caught up so you can get back on a quarterly system for the year. So that by April 1st, you can be looking at that as a quarter, as the second quarter of the year, and then third quarter, and kind of be tracking. So I'd be assessing in the next like week to 10 days, like immediately, what do I think I can get done by December 31st, 2021? And then break that down in milestones by quarter, and then and be look for 3 quarters. Like what would I need to do in the fourth quarter to end the year there? What would I need to do in the third quarter to get there? What do I need to do in the second quarter to get to there? Okay, where am I at now, and what do I need to do? If that gap is way too big, then readjust the back end and repeat that process until you feel like this is doable. And then a little differently than I was saying before, I would do a 60-day sprint where instead of making all the decisions to create systems and processes and work really hard on the business, I'd probably reverse back a little, and probably go a little heavier in the business. But I would try to be coaching everybody on my team. And if you're by yourself, you gotta stick with it yourself to track what's happening. So being a little less proactive about planning right now and just saying, we need to get as much revenue and business done as we can in the next 60 days, starting out here in a week or two. So I got about a week or 10 days. I make my plan and I kick it off. And then I'm just going crazy, pushing the pedal to the metal for 60 days, getting as much business as I can. But the key difference is I'm not working proactively to a plan, but I'm still tracking everything that's going on daily and weekly. And I'm just spending less time looking at my plan to my actual. I'm just killing it, and I'm just tracking what's happening every day. Maybe you take some time to try to estimate what's going to happen next week, but you just pound through, and then you're going to look up at the end of 30 days and you're going to say, okay, what happened and where am I headed? How am I going to end up? Am I still going to hit this? Where do I need to adjust to try to hit this 60-day sprint that I'm on? And what's really happened in the last 30 days I can learn from. You don't stop as much and as often, but you're still kind of doing the same thing. You hammer down for another 30 days. And then about a week before the end, about the third week of March, you're going to have to let up, and whatever's happening by then is probably happening. Let the quarter finish out. See if you need to adjust second quarter into third and fourth quarter for the year. Finalize that before that starts, before April 1st. And then take all the lessons learned of the things that didn't work and the things that did work and whatever happened, and start to create systems and processes around that and update your plans, and then be back on a schedule by April 1st. So I hope that helps, Trevor. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. Trevor said, where were you a month ago? I was right here, dude. I don't know where you were. I was here every Monday. All right. Cool. All right, guys. Anybody have any other questions they want to put in? Darren, I see you on, brother. Are we hiring yet? Got any ads out? You got an update for us? If people have been following along. Last week was the loose part 2, but a couple weeks ago we were talking to Darren about hiring. No updates. Yeah, text me or something. Hit me up, Darren. Let me know. No. Cool. Darren says he's working. Oh yeah, you were sick, dude. I forgot. Hopefully, I don't know if that ended up being COVID for sure or not, but hopefully that's out. Yep. Sorry, dude. That's that life stuff I was talking about, right? All right, cool, guys. So I posted those links. If we can help with your team or coaching, training, and that stuff, just set up a strategy call. If you've not done the KPI training and you're trying to get to where you're working on your business and you don't have great KPIs, I'm telling you that training's killer. If you're on Clubhouse, I'm at Steve Richards. I actually got my regular name, so it's @ Steve Richards is my handle. If you follow me, you'll get notified when I'm speaking in rooms. Next week, we're going to talk more about Clubhouse and what it is and how you can utilize it to actually, like, it's not just a dumb social media app. In fact, we'll have a invite or two to give out by then. So that'll be cool. I think that's about it, guys. We'll send out a recap. I don't know if we sent out the recap from last week yet. I don't think we did. We'll do that. We're trying to do that more often. So if you're on this, you'll get it emailed to you. If you're in the Facebook group, we'll post it in there, a link to it to grab the notes from this. And hit me up if you need anything, guys. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you all soon.